It was. My firstborn was quite a difficult baby, and new parents struggle every new parent struggles because there's the constant waking up. There's all the pressures of, especially not just mums and dads have a different sort of pressure. Mums is to nurture, to be there, to breastfeed, to all these things that we can't do, obviously. But for me as a male, I had to watch my wife struggle to do all of those things with no sleep. And then for me to feel like I need to make sure they're okay without checking I'm okay. And then I think the lack of sleep, the frustration of like, this is meant to be a loving, amazing moment in our lives and it's not. Eventually things just clicked that I'm not okay. Like, it was hard to nail down. I mean, my wife suffered from postpartum depression pretty bad. Just lack of sleep, really. That was the biggest factor. And then I had to check them into a mental hospital, both her and my newborn, for 8 weeks. The travel back and forth from there, the lack of sleep from me, having to watch them and watch what my son was putting my wife through, just compounded. And I was sort of too busy trying to make sure they were okay, and also resenting him so much. I've openly said that I hated him, and it kills me to say that now because he's my eldest, my little boy. But in the moment, it was why do we bring this thing into the world to tear us apart and both kill us mentally? And, we were in a good place. Like, they were in a mental hospital. I could go see them. I could stay there here and there. And eventually when I checked them out, they had gotten tools to work, help with his sleep, and April to help with her mental health. And then they were getting better and I was getting worse. I had developed a fairly heavy drinking habit because I was home alone. I was sad. I was questioning whether I wanted to be around anymore. And I at the time, I didn't really know what all this meant. I was kind of just thought, I just need to escape somehow, whether it was to run away or whether it was to essentially kill myself. I didn't know at the time what it was. When they did come home and they were getting better and there was improvements and he was sleeping better, he was starting to feed better, he was starting to do everything better, which was great. And mainly my wife could start to bond with him because no one was bonding with this poor kid because he was an absolute fucking terror. And it's not his fault, it's just how he was created, right? And then, there was a time there where they were getting better and I was getting more angry. I was getting more pissed off. I think I just never got over watching what he was doing to April. And I was coming home from work and she was a shell of a person. I've resented him for it so bad. And my wife eventually said to me, we're all getting better and you're getting worse. So what do we need to do about it? And the stigma behind talking to someone at that moment was like I completely crushed and went straight to my wife's GP, and we'd been in there so many times talking about my wife, and once I checked in and I sat down, she just said to me, I know exactly why you're here. She knew. She was like, I as soon as I saw your name and it was just you, not the family, I knew why you were coming in. And she was just like, I don't know what the statistic is for new dads whose wives who have postnatal depression, something like 50%, 1 in 2, the male ends up having some sort of mental illness or some sort of struggle, something like that. That might not be right. Somewhere around that. It's high, but it's not spoken about at all.
No.
And I mean, from that point, it was like I was more. The stigma from talking to someone was crushed and gone because I knew I needed help. But then the stigma around medication and being medicated and all that sort of stuff comes up, and you're like, I don't want to be that guy who's medicated. And that's such a stupid way to think about it because, why wouldn't I do whatever I can to get back on track so that I can bond with my child and love my child and, be there for my wife and everything again. But yeah, it was like, to answer your question, becoming a parent is fucking so hard for anyone. You could have the most perfect baby in the world, but there always some sort of struggle. It's hard work, just the sleepless nights, everything compounds. And if you don't pick up on it, and you don't break down your own stigma of talking about it, especially as a young man, we all see where that ends up, right? And I'm glad that I didn't get there. The thoughts were there. There were thoughts where, like I said, of escape. And it came in pretty thick and fast. So I'm glad my wife said, fucking sort yourself out. And I always say to people now, it's kind of like when you're on an airplane, right? They're giving the safety instruction and they're telling you to fit your mask before you fit your child's mask. You need to do that. Fit your own, then fit theirs. Make sure, because you want to give them 100% of yourself. You don't want to give them half-assed and save them, and then you just get forgotten about, and we all know where that ends up.
You just mentioned all of those feelings and thoughts that you're overwhelmed with at that period of time where you're struggling. Were you able to speak on any of that, or was it just all unspoken at the point in time until your wife recognised the change in character and the change in the way that you were showing up?
I was so focused on them without focusing on me. It took my sister as well to say to me, are you okay? You need to sort yourself before you can sort anyone else. But I was like, nah. I need to sort these guys out, because April had just been through an emergency C-section, a traumatic birth, a child who won't sleep. She was a complete shell of a person. Everything had changed about her because of the circumstances, and my focus was them and not me. When you've got to find some time for yourself to recognize, and that I was so caught up in it that I didn't really even recognize how much I was drinking, how aggressive I was, not towards them, just towards everything. I was angry. I was so subconsciously angry. We lived on DY Beach at the time, and my wife would go surfing or something, go out the front, go surfing, just go and do something for you. And she was just trying to help, and I'd be like, fuck, I'd have the shits with that for starters. And then because I was so angry, so tired, and so worked up, I remember sometimes I would underwater, I would scream, because it felt like the only place where no one would hear it. I could feel it. Yeah, and it was just like it wasn't even an outlet. It was just, I would feel nothing afterwards. I would just scream underwater for no reason. And it was like, I felt like at the time, if I just got it out, I could go back and focus on them and not me.